Hello everyone and welcome back to a top level game of professional StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss, a best-of-5 series, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Stargazers. Now spotting here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones from Finland, we have Serral. His opponent in the top right with the blue Protoss probes from Germany, we're looking at ShoWTimE's main Nexus. Alrighty, now this particular series was played a couple of days ago during HomeStory Cup 22, and I think if you're a fan of cheesy Zerg gameplay, you're gonna really enjoy this. So the reason I know that is because, well, I've already casted this while at the tournament. So here's the situation. This was played at about 1 in the morning. Generally speaking, Serral is very much so the kind of guy who will go to bed pretty early and then wake up pretty early as well. And it seemed to us, while casting the game, that Serral wanted to get out of the venue as quickly as possible, because even though he's one of the very best macro players on the planet, he decides to play hyper cheesy in this particular series. Now he does so against ShoWTimE of all people. It's a little bit questionable. Anyways, so here we go. Game number 1 on Stargazers. Serral decides to start off with a Proxy Hatchery right outside of the Protoss' pocket expansion. This is one of those locations that I had never seen before. Apparently it's played a couple of times so far in tournament games, but I had never seen it before, and Serral decides to bust it out in the lower bracket as well of a pretty dang important tournament. Anyways, there is a probe right now moving around. ShoWTimE has checked the natural, he's checked the third base, now he's even gonna check the pocket base. And upon not seeing that, and upon seeing the timing of the spawning pool and the gas geyser, I think at this point, ShoWTimE is assuming that this is a hatch gas pool with the hatchery at the 6 o'clock position. Stargazers obviously has a golden base right here at the bottom of the map. ShoWTimE has not quite figured out exactly what it is that he's going up against, but he's gonna have to very, very soon. Yeah, he's once again rechecking right now. He's looking around the map. He's even gonna check this location if I'm not mistaken. But the mineral fields in the back, excuse me, I just woke up. The mineral fields in the back of his pocket base are already being mined out. These have 40 minerals in them each. So that means 8 trips here in total for these workers, but obviously the proxy hatch makes that very, very easy. Okay, now he finds out. The Adept actually was gonna head down south as well, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the gateway rally point was set all the way towards the bottom. At this point, ShoWTimE knows what he's going up against, but can he actually defend against the shenanigans that Serral is throwing his way? Needs to be very careful. First links, not going straight into the main base. Okay, they decide to go to the wall off here on the low ground. And what exactly do you do right now, right? If you're ShoWTimE here. So he decides to go for a Stargate opener, fair enough. He decides to go for a shield battery, okay? That's pretty dang good. But now you have to defend 2 fronts at once. He's got to defend right over here, and he's got to defend right over there. Serral, in the meantime, still mining gas. He's going to be able to, transition towards higher tech units, and apparently he decides to go for a Baneling Nest right now as well. This is one of the cheesiest builds I've seen all year. And to see Serral doing this of all players, I don't know, I think it's amazing, right? He's always been the guy who is pretty predictable, but apparently not today. Okay, one of the Adepts ended up going down. Zerglings right now can pick and choose where they want to fight. Another Adept will be available eventually. First Oracle here is out, second Oracle comes up as well on the Stargate. However, problem is, every time you activate that Oracle's ability to attack ground units, it's consuming energy, right? And it costs a bunch of energy to activate as well, so this one is going to be only at 4 energy points remaining. It's going to be difficult to shoot at a bunch of Zerglings with that. More and more links are coming up. A Spore Crawler is coming up as well at home, so Serral not wanting to deal with a counter-attack right now of one of those Oracles. Okay, well, 2 Adepts. 2 Adepts end up going down here. Keep in mind, there's a Baneling Nest on the back of this too. ShoWTimE can smell this coming from a mile away, but what exactly can he do? The Queens right now join the game as well. And well, with them firing away at these Oracles, believe it or not, it's gonna be a very quick 1-0 for Serral. Alright, game number 2. We find ourselves on Cosmic Sapphire, and once again, spoiler alert, Serral is gonna go for a spicy little build. We'll get to that in just a moment. I believe the opener here at the very least is, is pretty normal. Anyhow, for those of you unfamiliar, HomeStory Cup, there are 2 editions every year. So there's like a summer edition and then there's also a winter edition. The one that just finished is called HomeStory Cup 22. So there have been quite a few of them ever since the early days of SC2. One of those classic tournaments. A lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of viewers as well, actually, which is really sick. At the very least, they told me they've watched a couple of my videos at some point in time, okay? I don't know if they were just saying that to do me a favor, right? They just wanted me to feel good for a moment, but no, actually, quite a few of you came up to say hi to me, which is awesome. Sometimes, actually, at a StarCraft 2 tournament, a lot of people, like, they seem to be a little shy about it. Please come say hi, okay? If you ever see me from a distance at a gaming tournament or whatever, feel free to come say hi. Sometimes I just notice people staring at me from a distance, and then at some point it gets a little bit awkward, and they're like, you know what, I can't go and say hi anymore right now either because I've been staring at this guy for like 20 minutes. Now I can't do it anymore. Please just come up and say hi. That probably helps. Anyhow, Cosmic Sapphire, pretty good map. Or actually, as they say in Germany, Kosmische Saphir. There you go. Fun fact, actually, I learned this at HomeStory Cup this time around. I know. Apparently, HomeStory Cup is all the rage these days. I found out that apparently these days, the Korean StarCraft 2 map names are the same as the English ones, except they are written phonetically in the Korean alphabet. So there is no Cosmic Sapphire translation in Korean of the map name. It's just simply written Cosmic Sapphire, but then with Korean. Isn't that cool? I had no idea. I think that's pretty sick. Anyhow, so far everything is normal. Got ourselves a Hatch gas pool from the Zerg player. A very normal opener right here as well from ShoWTimE, who, if I'm not mistaken, goes for a Stargate? I mean, honestly, with an opener like this, he should, since he's delaying the Warp Gate research. Stargate. No, it's gonna be here. Oh, well, it was a little bit closer to the Nexus there. Probably a bit of a better spot anyways, because obviously the Mauer, right? He has very well figured out his exact building positioning. Right now he can fit exactly one Adept right there in between the Stargate and that pylon. Zerg now looking to take a third base. So ShoWTimE at this point thinking, okay, you know what? Nothing's all too weird. Oh, thank God, everything's normal. I can actually play a game of StarCraft 2 right now. I've seen him go for a hatch into a gas into a pool. I've seen a third hatchery at the conventional timing as well. This is going to be Serral, the mackerel, the mackerel monster. The mackerel monster? That would be something else entirely. That's a horror story and a half right there. Anyways. Zergling here gets the knight. But the third Nexus should be coming up here pretty soon. I believe this is the moment, roughly, that Serral decides to mix it up a little bit. No, I think it's about 10 seconds from now, if I recall correctly. Because what Serral ended up going for in this game is a very, very quick lair. So normally, we don't see a lair until about a minute and a half or so from now. There it is. 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Is when that lair starts up. Now, obviously, it's very important to prevent the Protoss from scouting this right away. ShoWTimE moves forward. Okay, he gets into the base. Serral decided to cancel it once again because he doesn't want to get spotted. Fair enough. But guess what? He decides to restart it, this time around in the main base. These build orders are so silly. But somehow, some way, Serral is like, yep, this is what I want to be playing right now. So Serral did play a lot of macro games, by the way. He did do very well overall at HomeStory Cup. Maybe not as well as he would have liked to. For those of you unfamiliar, I think he won like 5 of them in a row. So, you know, this time around, he did not end up winning the full tournament, but still had a pretty dang good run. He did play macro for the most part. But not in this series. Which is kind of ironic. Anyways, third Nexus coming up. Okay, a couple of drones ended up going down just now. Adept here gets scouted and surrounded. 1 goes down, 2 goes down. Okay, third one will at the very least stay alive. Another Oracle now available as well to help and keep this third Nexus around for a little while longer. But again, Serral is, making sure that there's as little energy on these Oracles as possible as he transitions towards a Nidus network. So game number 1, Proxy Hatchery Rush. Game number 2, Nidus Network Rush. It's gonna be Queens and Zerglings right here, coming out of the finisher. This position is in one of those locations where you'd imagine it gets scouted pretty easily, but when you think about it, if oracles go across the map, they'll likely go like this, maybe like that, or they will go through the left side of the map towards the natural instead. Maybe if they make that move, they might be able to scout the Nidus network here, but anyways, Serral decides to pop it right over there in between the natural and the third. It gets spotted pretty easily, but the problem is ShoWTimE doesn't have a lot of firepower. He does not have a lot of damage output here in general. So oracles are gonna, okay, at the very least one queen pops out. Oracles are gonna be able to shut it down for now. Second Nidus Worm, though, is going up in the back of the main base. ShoWTimE sees it and immediately GG's. And really, just a couple minutes into this video, we find ourselves on the map Data C with Serral already at match point. Now he decides to once more open up with a hatchery, into a gas geyser, into a spawning pool. So at the very least, no early game shenanigans just yet, but once more, Serral has got something in store for us right here on this map as well. We'll get to that momentarily. Standard opener right here as well from ShoWTimE, with a quick Nexus, but also a quick Cybercore. Once again, a quick Stargate. ShoWTimE not really the kind of guy who will go for a variety of builds very often, okay? There are a couple of maps right now where Twilight Council openers are pretty popular, it seems, but good old Stargate right here in the main base. This is his bread and butter, and well, when you're 2-0 behind in a series, yeah, it's not all too weird to go for the style that you feel most comfortable with. Hey, fun story, by the way. Well, fun story maybe for you, not so much for me. I just woke up after, like, not the best night of sleep, because for some reason, in the middle of the night, our smoke detectors decided to go off. For some reason in my life, I've only ever had, well, I think this is probably a good thing, right? But I've only ever had false positives when it comes to smoke detectors going off, which is, I guess, a pretty dang good thing. But not the nicest way to wake up at 3 in the morning. Anyhow, cat's absolutely freaking out, by the way. Poor cats. They don't realize what was going on. Me running around in my underwear trying to figure out if there is a fire. Turns out there wasn't. Just a lot of noise. Thank you very much, smoke detectors, for keeping me safe. Don't know what your problem is, but I believe you're actually supposed to, like, I think you're supposed to, like, hoover them, like with a vacuum cleaner. I think you're supposed to keep, I don't know. How does dust fall up anyways? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. I know gravity. Although I heard life was a lot more fun before Newton invented it. Anyhow, here's the spice for this game. Serral decides to go for a pretty darn quick Evo chamber. This is not something you normally already do at this point in the game. Normally you go for, an Evo chamber a little bit later on. Usually if you go for one at this timing, you will use it for something a little bit feisty. Now we have seen this as well as like a macro-focused opener. So oracles actually just fly by it right away. Excellent scouting here by ShoWTimE. So he sees the timing of the Evo chamber. This is not all too weird, to be honest. Nah, you know what? You can't really look at this as a Protoss and think, haha, aggression. Maybe in the sense of the series, yes. Now this would be a lot more telling. Love actually that Serral is putting it right next to the Evo chamber, because there's a good chance that ShoWTimE is not going to scout in that location again, but he spots it, and he clicks on it, he sees that indeed it's an Evo chamber together with a Bingling nest. ShoWTimE though mixing it up a little bit as well, going straight for the charge upgrade right now, which I'm personally a big fan of. We saw this build a lot at HomeStory Cup, so a lot of charge follow-ups after the Stargate. Historically speaking, over the last year, it's been all about Blink. Usually you will still get Blink, but the nice thing about obviously getting charge slots is that you save yourself a lot of gas, and then you can dump the gas on a bunch of High Templar, and then the High Templar can morph into Archons, and then bada bing, bada boom, you've got yourself a fantastic unit combo. Fourth hatchery coming up. This is the point though at which Serral decides to start making Zerglings. Just checking. Is there already a fourth Nexus? No such thing just yet. What exactly is going on? Okay, no gases here at the third. He'll probably be thinking about either being aggressive very soon, or he'll be taking a fourth Nexus before too long. Perfect time to morph in 11 Banelings. Now, I think that Evo Chamber was slightly mistimed. He actually gets the cancel right there on the shield battery. That's really, really nice. The melee attack is a... yeah, it's finishing up right now. Ideally, I guess you have it finished when the very first Zerglings come in, but it finishes... look at that, actually. These timings are so in sync. It finishes right at the same time as charge. So now you're fighting into a bunch of charge lots with Lings and Banes. Obviously a pretty damn good unit composition. There's a couple of Archons available as well. A whole lot of workers end up going down so far, but nothing all too crazy. Only 4 of those probes. Then again, there's a lot of low HP probes. Is there enough here? Okay, he actually evacuates a bunch out of there. Is there enough here for the Zerg player to really clean all of this up? And spoiler alert, there's not. There's not. So Serral's cheese this time around, not nearly as successful as we saw in the previous couple of games. I know that some of you probably already hovered over the video duration as well. You're like, oh my god, we're like 8 minutes into this video right now. I thought I clicked on a video that's like, you know, at least 5 times that duration. What's going on here? If Serral's going for another cheese in game number 3. Yeah, this one not as successful as the previous one. And now, okay, now Serral is forced to... yeah, focus on a more macro-focused style, but he's behind. Very significantly behind as well. Excellent defense right here by ShoWTimE. Scouting well, knowing exactly what to do in the right situation at the right time. He loses 1 Archon here, which kind of sucks, but he's playing Archons, right? And if there's one unit that Archons are really, really good against, it's, of course, the Zerglings. I mean, even against Banelings, you can still theoretically make Banelings work if you make enough of them. But Banelings, yeah, they can kill, right? These Archons. It's about 20-something Banelings. It kind of depends on a bunch of upgrades, but it's about 20 Banelings for each Archon. So that means that if you want to roll your Banes into one of those glowy boys and it dies, Protoss still giggles because, well, that's an incredibly cost-efficient trade for the Protoss player. 4th Hatchery eventually, yeah, droned up as well with at least 12 of those workers. Serral wants to add on a couple more. So that will bring him finally to a good economy. But for the most part in this game, yeah, it's been in the favor of our Protoss, which is exactly what he needs to do. Not only can he trade cost efficiently here, he can also get himself a, yeah, an economical advantage here, which is really, really good. Second Forge coming up too, by the way. I really love that. We've been seeing a lot of double Forge play lately. I wonder what that's going to be like in the new multiplayer balance patch with the Forge upgrades being quite a bit quicker. This upgrade would already be finished right now. Anyhow, I think the new patch actually, a lot of people are not talking about the Forge changes, but I think they're going to be huge. With the way that Protoss has been playing lately, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing a lot of Forge upgrades. Basically, I think it's +1/+1/+1 that will be 9 seconds quicker. Or 7 seconds? I think it's 7 seconds. And then the second upgrade will be 9 seconds quicker. And then the 3/3 upgrades, they will be 11 seconds quicker. And all of that really does add up. These upgrades are going to be finishing significantly faster. Love this as well, by the way. We've seen, I think it was Raynar that really started doing this when he was playing a bunch of Protoss. Where there was a strong focus on those plasma shields. And obviously when you're going very Archon heavy, Archons are like, well, look at that, 350 shields, 10 HP. Yeah, you're going to be able to get a lot more sustain out of those units. Anyhow, Serral is thinking about going for an attack once again, but this is the Mauer he's playing against. ShoWTimE, very, very strong defensively. Maybe he got a little bit unlucky in game number 1 and 2. It happens. Especially game number 1, right? He tried to make the best of it, but that's one of those builds that is not commonly played, so... next time around he faces something like that, he'll probably approach his defense a little bit differently. Game number 2, I mean, he tried his best. He even almost spotted the lair multiple times, but... just a bit of a misread there because Serral decided to play super flexibly. Game 3 though, he scouted exactly what he needed, and he defended very, very nicely. Okay, so... taking 4 bases on Data C is easy. The problem you run into here as Protoss is this 5th. It's pretty far out. You have to travel quite a while. And obviously if you travel with all of your units over here, then suddenly there might be an attack coming up north. Now there are some gateways here in place to make sure that there's not going to just be a Baneling roll by over here, right? There's definitely a way to defend multiple areas at once, but it's tricky. Defending with, yeah, 4 bases is really, really hard. Or, sorry, defending your 5th base is really hard. The first 4, relatively easy. Anyways, look at how Archon heavy he is. So this is 11 Archons here. There's as many Archons here, basically, as there are Zealots. Super expensive. Serral, though? Oh, is he gonna collapse on top of this army? He's thinking about it at the very least. Super expensive decision here to trade out all of these Zerg units. There are more and more Banelings coming in from the back. Obviously, the Banelings do deal splash damage, so it's not exactly like 20 versus 20, or, well, no, 20 Banelings right here for each and every one of these Archons. In the end, Serral cleans up that army, but not at the cost of, well, just a handful of Zerglings, right? That was a very, very inefficient trade right there for the finisher. The problem is, though, with the opener that Serral went for, he doesn't have any tech, right? He doesn't have any tech, and he can't really go into something like Lurkers very easily here at all. So what we did see right there on the production tab was a Hive. Spire has also finished. I think the plan here is to go for Brute Lords. Brute Lords, he decides to go for the +1 flyer upgrades. Anyways, Brute Lords do really shut down those Archon Immortal-based armies, but obviously this is Serral at 1 in the morning and he wants to go home. So instead of going for a unit that actually counters the army that his opponent is going for, Serral decides to go for Mutalisks. Like, there's nothing here for Protoss that's good against Brute Lords. Nothing. But you know what? There's a good chance he's gonna GG out faster if I suddenly show up with 16 Mutalisks on his side of the map. He's even going for Immortals as well. So ShoWTimE at this point, yeah. He wants to go for another all-out assault, I think, but I don't think actually Lurkers would be a great choice here either. But like, Disruptor, Archon, Immortal, Zealot. I think there's Blink. But that's really where the... Yeah, there is Blink. That's really where the defense against... there it is, by the way. That's really where the defense against Brute Lords would end, right? It's not a great situation to be in. Anyways, Mutas flying across the map right now. Reinforcing Stalkers, though. Okay, they've already popped out of the warp gates. They absolutely catch those Mutas easy peasy. At the same time, there's a big fight happening up north as well. Once again, the Banelings, they do connect with Archons here. They're gonna be able to clean this up. But at what cost? Zealots in the meantime, by the way, forcing the Council right there on the Hatchery. They're gonna now move forward. Reinforcing Zerg units are gonna be able to get rid of that too. But how are the Mutas doing? Well, so far, we've had 8 Mutas going down and just as many probes as well in this game. He needs to get a lot more damage done with these Mutas in order to justify them. Okay, so finally they're actually starting to get some work in. Problem is, though, killing 11 probes at the 13-minute mark, not nearly as efficient as killing that many workers at like the 6-minute mark, right? Which is when we normally see Mutas. Protoss was already fully saturated. Protoss was even already, I think he was already maxed out. Got some money in the bank and everything too. Not nearly as difficult to replace 11 workers when you have like 6 Nexus. Actually, he's got 5. We need a macro Nexus. That's what we need. We need another Nexus right over here. Anyways. I think this is the most aggressive Serral we've ever seen. He's been getting more aggressive over the years after, well, being an incredibly predictable macro machine for many years. But, yeah, he's been getting more and more cheesy lately. I think this is like the villain story arc of the finisher, you know? Season 3 of the Finnish Phenom. Apparently the Finnish Phenom turns into a villain himself. A couple of Banelings here trying to roll by all the way at the bottom of the map. Okay. Well, you can just chill there. If you're denying a base for that long, not bad at all. Still though, ShoWTimE has a lot of glowy boys. He's got 7 of them. These Archons are having a grand old time. Mutas can't really engage against Archons. But Serral once more, morphing in more Banes. All of these trades are so horribly inefficient, but once again, pretty good split this time around though, trying to negate a lot of that splash. A lot of probes, by the way, did go down there in the end. Was that... Hold up, I'm gonna go back for just a second. Were that the probes returning over here? Oh my god, really? So these Banes have been hanging out here for a while. No. Okay. Anyways, in the meantime, up north, this is what we were looking at. Archons here, getting pushed back. Queen's just transfusing whatever they can. Rapid fire transfuse on all of the Zerg units. You love to see it. 30, there's actually more and more workers going down here. 33 probes have now gone down. And while initially that aggression here from Serral wasn't that great, now if you look at the big picture, yeah, 60 probes have gone down in this game. 60. That's a lot. Still, yeah, no proper unit out to properly defend against all of those Protoss ground units, but he can start getting Brute Lords now if he wants to, because the Greater Spire is finished. Mutalisks, even though they have the word mutate in their name, they cannot actually mutate into anything. This is not StarCraft Brute War. Be pretty sick though if these guys could just hang out in the corner and then suddenly reappear as Brute Lords. Or Devourers, I guess. That would be funny too, but... Anyhow. Oh, okay, drop over here out of the prison. Serral's been having a hard time getting this base up and running. Banelings once again trying to get a valuable trade, but so far, honestly, not getting much at all. ShoWTimE once more doing a fantastic job. Yeah, splitting up his units and trying to negate as much of that splash damage as possible. If you look right now at the resources lost, Serral's playing as cost efficient as he can be, okay? I honestly think this is still pretty darn good here for the Zerg. But yeah, it's 103 Banelings at 25 Archons. At the 17-minute mark have gone down. That's pretty nuts. The thing is though, despite all of those worker losses here on the side of ShoWTimE, he still has a lot of economy remaining. 79 probes. Double upgrades, still continuously going. So that is the +2 and then the +3 on the shields. So those Archons are being properly upgraded. Zealot run by here up north as well. Zerg army is rotating in that direction, and guess what? That's right when also, yeah, the Protoss army moves in on the right side too. So ShoWTimE with some phenomenal army movement here, really showing us that he's more than capable of going toe-to-toe with Serral in a macro game. Albeit a bit of a crazy macro game, where Serral is playing far more aggressively than what we normally see. A Baneling roll by once again at the bottom of the map, this time around not getting a whole lot of workers, but the majority of the Protoss army though marched forward and got the third hatchery here of the Zerg. Third or fourth? Yeah, one of the two. Okay, Serral once again thinking about plowing his way right here, just straight through that Protoss army. Stasis Ward there being triggered, a couple of Zerglings split off from the rest of the pack. He's denying the Nexus here on the low ground, but again, at what cost? So what started as a rather cheesy game with a +1 Ling Bane assault is now turning out to be, yeah, a pretty sick macro match. I can't believe we're still, yeah, look at that. 13 additional Ravagers coming up. I can't believe that we still don't have Brute Lords here. Serral just harassing. Like, the way to win this game, apparently, is to just try and shout at your opponent as aggressively as possible. Zerg army rotating towards the main base. And right at the same time, we see Protoss making a move over here as well. Really good army movement here, by the way, from ShoWTimE. Honestly, really good. It's actually very complex to properly position your army as Protoss. It's really tempting to just maneuver all of your units around in one big ball, and despite the fact... Okay, that's not gonna happen. Despite the fact that there's been mutas flying around, he's still been finding areas to actually get in with the Warp Prism, which is super important. Then again, though, this army eventually may be stuck in the top left-hand corner. Ravagers suddenly come out. This is a unit that ShoWTimE hasn't seen all too many of in this game yet, so decides to rain Corrosive Biles. A couple of the Stalkers do end up going down here. This is obviously a well-upgraded Zerg army too. Eventually, these Archons end up going down, and now the Stalkers are in a little bit of trouble too. But once more, there's a counterattack. This is towards that base right outside of the Zerg's main. Couple of links here, okay, also going in for the run-by. Finally, Protoss got that base up and running, but this is an absolute bloodbath of a ZVP. This is, in my opinion, peak StarCraft 2, man. This is, yeah, this is fantastic. Anyways, in the end here, Serral just does not have any money anymore. His trades have been incredibly cost inefficient, and with ShoWTimE securing a new expansion, Serral decides to tap out. And that brings us to Inside and Out. I don't remember exactly what ended up going down right here on this map, but we'll find out together. It'll probably come back to me here momentarily. Anyhow. Oh, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, ShoWTimE goes for a Stargate opener here. Yep, he does. So, a lot of players at HomeStory Cup like to go for a Twilight Council. Just because getting those glyphed adepts across is a little bit quicker, since, well, the layout of the map just really allows you to very easily get over here, and then you can decide to go either towards the third base, or for example, the natural. Can't really blame ShoWTimE, though, for playing a Stargate opener, because, well, it's what he feels most comfortable with, and he's found most success with that as well. One thing I mentioned this before in previous casts, right? So I've casted a bunch of Zaun games. And a lot of the times when Zaun currently starts with a Stargate, he likes to go for just a single Void Ray. Just a single Void Ray. Which I have been questioning. I don't think it's that great of a build. No one else has really been playing it. Yeah, it's going to be an Oracle right here from ShoWTimE as well. But Zaun, he likes to go for just a single Void Ray. Now, he was there at HomeStory Cup as well. He ended up playing the single Void Ray opener against the Zerg. He ended up winning that series. So we got to do a winner interview. Oh, Adept section, straight into the main base. 1 drone, 2 drones. Okay, pretty dang good. 4 so far. 5? Okay. A little bit of miss micro there by the Zerg, although, both Adepts end up going down, I think, for, 1 Zergling and then 5 drones. Anyhow, I got to ask Zaun why he likes to play the Void Ray build, right? And I expected I was going to get some elaborate answer as to why it was amazing and, that everyone should be giving it a try and all that. But Zaun quite literally said to me, no, the build sucks. No one should actually play it, but I kind of like it. It's like, Zaun, you just won. You just won with that build. What are you talking about right now? How come nobody plays this build but you? And he's like, yeah, no, the build actually just sucks. Then I asked him about Twilight Council openers, and he also said, yep, those also suck. So basically every build sucks. Every build that's popular currently sucks. That's my favorite thing, actually, about asking pro gamers questions, especially about strategies and balance that they're going for. Balance questions in particular, though, are always a banger, because everyone's always biased towards what they play. The grass always seems greener on the other side. Anyhow, Twilight Council here, as well as a fort on the back of it. Roach Warren coming up for Serral. Alright. Looks like the era of cheesing is over. Or is it? No, I think it is. The previous game, it was definitely a little bit cheesy, but it was mostly just hyper-aggression, right? Just super aggressive play from Serral. Just throwing unit after unit at the opponent and shouting at them. Why won't you just die? Right? That's at least what I had imagined. Serral over the years really has turned into a bit of a memester as well. It's kind of funny, like when we first, I guess at some point you get pretty comfortable doing interviews, right? Because, well, he's done hundreds of them. But when we first used to talk to him back in like 2018, he always was a little bit shy and he would stumble over his words a little bit, right? I mean, obviously a lot of the StarCraft players in general, they are very good at playing StarCraft. But many of the StarCraft players also don't do a whole lot else other than play StarCraft, right? Which is probably not a surprise. So sometimes the winter interviews can be a little bit tricky. But Serral's gotten very good at them, and he's become a bit of a joker as well, which is pretty funny to see. It's once again going to be that charge, yeah. So no straight blink. It's going to be charged together with the +1 ground weapons here for ShoWTimE. It's pretty neat. Archons coming up. They were obviously very nice in the previous game. Oracle's still flying around, but this is Serral playing what we consider to be a normal build. We're 4 games into the series. Everything here is a normal. We have +1 missile. We have roach speed. We've got lings. We've got roaches. We're going to get some ravagers. Does he have enough to defend against this aggression? Well, he didn't over drone, so he should. Spine crawlers are coming up as well, though, so he's definitely respecting this a lot. Triple Overseer squad heading on over towards the bottom right-hand corner. That's kind of interesting. Queens transfusing one another back up to full HP, and these queens are having a grand old time, by the way. Really reducing the surface area on these zealots tremendously. very good positioning here. That Spinecrawler is going to finish up here momentarily, right? And that's going to be super nice too when it comes to poking away at these Protoss units. Good micro there by Zerg once again, trying to trigger that stasis trap. And honestly, fantastic defense there from Serral. That's the Serral we all know, right? So he makes drones in the early game. He goes for what is considered to be the standard, mostly because he established what the standard even is. And then he defends whatever you throw at them, and then he tends to outgrow you. That was a quintessential, well, at least 2018 through like 2021 or so, Serral type of defense. He's now going for 6 additional Overlords. He's going for Overlord speed as well. These Overseers have been getting energy for a while. I don't think we caught this on the broadcast. Is this contamination? It almost has to be. Is that what we're gonna do? Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. So Serral's going across the map. This is a skill that we barely ever see. So it temporarily halts production inside of whatever facility you throw it on. Serral has brought 3 Overseers here, so he can throw a couple more. It's obviously one of those APM intensive tasks. Yeah, we must have been focused during the broadcast on the Disruptors, but that's actually really sick. Because now there's less Disruptors than there would be. Actually really nice to see. Anyways. He's still fighting against Demour, and despite the fact that there's really not that much supply here for Protoss, ShoWTimE is very strong defensively as well. Absolutely murdering this army. Okay. Queens have come all the way to the front as well, because there's such a large amount of creep spread. There go the Overseers once more. I actually really like that. We never really see it, but it's so strong. There's one of the Disruptors going down. I mean, the only real threat in this Protoss army are those Disruptors, right? As long as the Disruptors are not around, yeah, those big detonations can't happen. So if you can deny that for at least some time, it's really cool. Oh my god. You know what? This is maybe not a cheesy game, but this is still, once again, a different Serral than what we normally see. I've often wondered about contamination, and I've had a lot of people ask. I've even had people ask on the stream whether or not that upgrade, or not even an upgrade, if that ability is still on the Overseer, because it is so uncommonly played. Yeah, it is. We never really see a triple Overseer hit squad, but I gotta say, I love it. I feel like it's one of those things like, for example, Burrow, right? We used to never ever see Burrow for Zerg. I feel like it's one of those things that will come back around at some point. Like, Burrow is pretty commonly played these days, and I asked about that one for years as well. I think contamination is probably going to be a pretty common thing to go for. Especially if we, like, cycle away a little bit from those Stargate-based openers. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're going to be seeing some more of it. Especially against Protoss. Maybe against Terran it's a little bit more tricky, but... Also, what exactly do you want to deny from a Terran? I mean, maybe, like, upgrades, right? Upgrades are always good to deny. Maybe siege tank production could be good. Maybe if Terran mech becomes really popular again at some point, maybe we'll see some of that at some point again, but yeah. Anyways, there go the Overseers. They want to deny the production in one of those structures, but there's nothing being produced. Guess we're gonna, yeah. We're gonna go for something that's at least getting something done. In the meantime, though, Protoss' army movement here has been amazing. ShoWTimE really showing us how you need to rotate with your units to make sure you're both defending while simultaneously also pushing back that Zerg. Okay. Creep spread, though, is still looking tremendous. Now the rocks here right outside of the Thark base are also gonna get pushed. Okay. Aggressive blink forward right now. Despite the fact that ShoWTimE is maybe a little bit behind on his upgrades, at least compared to where he wants to be, he is winning most of the fights here. Problem is, though, Serral has still got a very good economy. He's sniping a lot of the heavy hitters. His creep spread is looking tremendous. He doesn't have that many workers, though. One thing, though, that he does have is the Hive at this point, so Vipers are coming up together with the Lurker then. So, yeah, we're stuck on Roach Ravager Ling here for the time being. But eventually it's gonna be Hydra, Lurker, Viper, and that is an entirely different unit composition. Just a handful of Lurkers can be absolutely amazing at this sort of army. You can Zealot run-bys, but also at just engaging all of these units. Vipers alone, honestly, are massive, right? So Just being able to abduct those heavy hitters from the Protoss is huge. No observer with this force, which honestly scares me a little bit. ShoWTimE doesn't know where the opposing player's army is really located right now. I mean, he's seen little bits and pieces of it, but apparently he feels like this is the time to go. And you know what? He may very well be right. Despite the fact that he doesn't know exactly about when the opponent decides to transition towards lurkers, he knows that he needs to go soon. It's probably either lurkers or brute lords, right? Both are tricky to deal with. Roaches that were going in for the counter-attack are also using the little legs to run all the way back home. Base in the top left-hand corner, okay. A couple of roaches are going to split up against that. But they're going to get caught. And ShoWTimE should be able to get the kill on that base. Those roaches now once more, though, heading on over towards the bottom right-hand corner. Using the burrow. Love to see it. In the meantime, storm coming up. Fleet beacon coming up, as well as double Stargate. Protoss, though, also moving forward here. A couple of lurkers were underground, but they got sniped pretty easily. Okay. Double Oracle, also destroyed. It's one of the main ways that Protoss can actually detect those lurkers. So just adding on a couple more of those Vipers would not be a bad idea. A couple more lurkers, also not a bad idea. So Stormgate, ShoWTimE. I think that's what the Storm G stands for, right? I think he, well, he's first off ready for a new RTS game, apparently. But secondly, I think he wants to go for carriers here. Carriers, not really a unit we'll see probably in Stormgate. I think carriers in general, yeah, pretty lame unit design. Maybe I'm wrong, but very difficult to balance. Maybe, though. Maybe. Hatchery here on the right side of the map gets denied. And one problem that Serral is running into right now is that he doesn't have a lot of money anymore. Like, sure, right now he's got a bit of a bank, but his 4-base economy is going to be running out very soon. ShoWTimE has done an amazing job continuously denying those outer bases. And now he seems to be the one who's taking the base in the bottom right-hand corner as well. Double expansion here from Serral. But Serral doesn't have a whole lot yet to deal with these carriers. I mean, he's got abductions, he's got Hydras, but he's only got 10 of them. I don't know if at this point he really realizes what he's playing against. Okay, now he sees the carrier. He got the glimpse of it at the very least, so he now knows that he's likely gonna have to defend against that. Normally the way you defend against carriers is by going into Corruptors. But Serral's got very good upgrades right now on these ground units. +3, as a matter of fact, is coming out. There's an abduction. Denying that ability. He's getting into a pretty damn good spot over here as well. At the same time, there's the Roach Ravager squad on the left side of the map, but ShoWTimE did leave a couple of units behind. Okay. Good feedback. Good storm as well. Very good. Ooh, very good storms there on the back of that. Ooh, he gets... No, why did he stop flying that one? I'm not entirely sure. Those lurkers on the ground also getting a ton of value, and all the High Templar ended up going down. That was definitely an overextension by ShoWTimE. I think part of that, though, is the fact that he's had a really large chunk of his army on the left side of the map. Parasitic Bomb here on the Oracle. It's time to get rid of that unit. Okay. Hydra's desperately trying to stick around. That's the reinforcing units, that is. Okay. Mothership starts up. And we also now have a Colossus on the production tab. So this is specifically to counter that Hydra-based army. Since now most of the heavy hitters in the sky, though, are gone, Serral is going back to Roaches. There's another good storm. Oh, the storms are really juicy. Gotta be careful you don't accidentally blink and charge your own Protoss ground units into that, but... Interceptors here getting absolutely destroyed, and that now means that the Archons can... well, get popped very easily, too. There is not enough energy here, actually, for Storm. Without enough energy for Storm, actually, and now finally he finishes it up, but without enough energy for Storm, how in the world are you gonna defend against this Zerg army? There's the Colossus. I don't think that was honestly the right choice because it's so expensive and not that useful without the ranged upgrade. And in the end, in a very aggressive series, it is indeed Serral who obtains the victory.